Welcome to Religion Unpacked. The Virgin of Guadalupe, the miracle that created Mexico. Introduction: the vision, the symbol, the nation. In the heart of Mexico City stands one of the most visited Catholic shrines in the world. Each year, millions flock to the Basilica of Guadalupe. They come to pray, to seek miracles, to give thanks. They come to see a sacred image. This isn't just a religious icon, it is the very soul of a nation. For 5 centuries, the Virgin of Guadalupe has been more than a symbol of faith. She is a symbol of identity, of resilience, and of the unique blend of cultures that defines Mexico. She is the mother of Mexico, the Empress of the Americas. But her story is not just one of simple piety. It is a complex, fascinating narrative woven through conquest, indigenous spirituality, and the strategic birth of a new faith in a new world. So, who is the Virgin of Guadalupe? What is the story of her miraculous apparition? And how did one image, supposedly imprinted on a humble cloak, become the most powerful religious and cultural force in Latin America? Let's unpack the miracle that created Mexico. Part 1. The Conquest and the Spiritual Void. Our story begins in 1519, with the arrival of Hernán Cortés and the Spanish conquistadors. Within a few short years, the mighty Aztec Empire, Tenochtitlan, had fallen. It was a conquest of arms, but also of spirit. The indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica had their own rich, complex religious systems, dominated by powerful gods like Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and sun, and Tonantzin, the revered Mother Earth goddess. But with the arrival of the Spanish, their temples were destroyed. Their idols were shattered. Their ancient rituals were forbidden. This left a profound spiritual void. Conversion to Catholicism was enforced, often brutally. But how do you truly replace an entire cosmology, especially the deep personal connection to a mother deity? The Spanish friars struggled. While some conversions occurred, the deeper faith of the indigenous people remained tied to their ancestral lands and spirits. The stage was set for a new kind of intervention, one that would speak a language the people truly understood. Part 2. The Miracle on Tepeyac Hill. The year is 1531, just 10 years after the fall of Tenochtitlan. The location is Tepeyac Hill, a barren rise just north of what is now Mexico City. This hill was no ordinary place. For centuries, it had been a sacred site dedicated to Tonantzin, the Aztec mother goddess. It was a place of pilgrimage, of offerings, and of deep spiritual significance for the indigenous people. On the morning of December 9th, a poor, humble indigenous man named Juan Diego Cuauhtlacoatzin was walking across Tepeyac Hill on his way to Mass. Juan Diego was a recent convert to Catholicism in his late 50s. Suddenly, he heard beautiful music, like the singing of celestial birds. He looked up, and on the summit of the hill, he saw a radiant woman, surrounded by light, speaking to him in his native Nahuatl tongue. She identified herself as the Virgin Mary, Mother of God. She told Juan Diego that she desired a church, a casita, little house, to be built on that very spot, on Tepeyac Hill. There, she promised, she would show her love and compassion to all her children, indigenous and Spanish alike. She instructed Juan Diego to go to the Bishop of Mexico, Fray Juan de Zumárraga, and relay her message. Juan Diego, humble but obedient, went to the bishop. But the bishop, skeptical, dismissed him. Juan Diego returned to the Virgin, discouraged, but she insisted. "Go back tomorrow," she said, "and tell him again." The next day, Juan Diego returned to the bishop. This time, Zumárraga demanded a sign. He needed proof that this was truly the Mother of God. Juan Diego returned to the Virgin, who promised him a sign for the following day. Part 3. The Tilma and the Image. On December 12th, the third and most famous day of the apparition, Juan Diego returned to Tepeyac Hill. The Virgin instructed him to climb to the very summit of the barren hill, which was normally desolate in winter, and gather the flowers he would find there. To his astonishment, he found a profusion of beautiful, fresh Castilian roses blooming on the frozen ground. These were not native to Mexico. He gathered them in his tilma, a simple cloak made of coarse cactus fibers, and returned to the Virgin. She arranged the flowers and told him, "Take these to the bishop. This is your sign." Juan Diego, with the tilma clutched in his hands, went directly to Bishop Zumárraga. He opened his tilma and the Castilian roses tumbled out. But as they fell, an even greater miracle unfolded. Imprinted on the coarse cactus fiber of Juan Diego's tilma was a luminous, perfectly detailed image of the Virgin Mary. The bishop, along with everyone present, immediately fell to their knees. There was no longer any doubt. This was the sign. The image on the tilma was not a painting. It seemed to have appeared spontaneously, a divine miracle. And it possessed extraordinary characteristics. The Virgin's skin was dark, like the indigenous people. Her mantle was blue-green, the color of royalty for both Aztecs and Europeans. Stars were scattered across her mantle, reflecting the constellations of the winter solstice sky. She wore a black sash, indicating pregnancy in Aztec culture. She stood on a crescent moon, a symbol important in both Christian and Aztec cosmologies. And beneath her feet was a small angel, supporting her, whose wings resembled the feathers of an Aztec eagle. This image spoke volumes. It was not a foreign god. It was their mother. She looked like them. She understood their culture. Part 4. The birth of a nation, syncretism and identity. The impact was immediate and profound. The miracle of Guadalupe became the spiritual bridge between the indigenous people and their Spanish conquerors. It offered a way to embrace the new faith without entirely abandoning their ancient spiritual connection to the land and to a mother goddess. The fact that she appeared on Tepeyac Hill, the site of Tonantzin's worship, was not a coincidence. It was a powerful act of syncretism, the blending of religious beliefs and practices. The Virgin of Guadalupe wasn't just Mary. She was a mestiza Mary, a divine mother who spoke Nahuatl, who understood their pain, and who brought comfort in a time of immense suffering and cultural upheaval. Within a few years, millions of indigenous people converted to Catholicism. The image on the tilma became a rallying cry. During the Mexican War of Independence in 1810, Father Miguel Hidalgo raised a banner of Guadalupe, uniting criollos and indigenous people under her image against Spanish rule. She became the symbol of Mexican nationalism. Throughout every major event in Mexican history, revolution, civil war, social movements, the Virgin of Guadalupe has been there. She is the mother who watches over her children, the protector of the poor and the oppressed. Conclusion: a living faith. Today, the scientific community has studied the tilma itself. The cactus fibers, which should have disintegrated in 40 years, remain intact after almost 500 years. The colors are unlike any known earthly pigments. Infrared studies show no brushstrokes, no underlying sketch. Whether you believe in the supernatural miracle or see it as a brilliant cultural fusion, its power is undeniable. The Virgin of Guadalupe is not just a religious figure. She is a cultural anchor, a source of comfort, and a testament to the enduring human need for a sacred mother figure. She represents the triumph of faith, the birth of a nation, and the unique spirit of Mexico. The Virgin of Guadalupe is the ultimate symbol of religion unpacked, a complex, layered story that reveals profound truths about history, identity, and the spiritual heart of a people. Welcome to Religion Unpacked. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a new upload.